Welcome, Zodiac lovers, to another exciting episode here at Secret of the Zodiac. If you're here, you're probably already aware that Capricorn is one of those signs that tends to be misunderstood. Sure, they're often portrayed as serious, goal-driven, and maybe a little cold. But is that the full story? Not even close. Capricorns are known for being weird, and today we're going to explore 30 reasons why they're, well, so weird. But before we dive into the deep end, let me ask you this. Have you ever met a Capricorn who seemed like an enigma? One minute, they're the life of the party, and the next, they're off in their own world, strategizing their next big move. That's the fascinating thing about Capricorns. They're full of surprises. They keep their cards close to their chest. But when they reveal something, it's always intriguing. Now don't get me wrong, being a Capricorn isn't all about being overly serious or work-obsessed. They have quirks and qualities that make them stand out, and honestly, they can be downright weird in the best way possible. So, if you've ever wondered why Capricorns are so different from other signs, or why they seem to be on a completely different wavelength from everyone else, you're in the right place. But hey, before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Join our ever-growing community of Zodiac enthusiasts. Oh, and we absolutely want to hear from you. So drop a comment below. Are you a Capricorn? Or maybe you know one who fits the bill. We'd love to know what you think. With that said, let's jump into our first few reasons why Capricorns are weird. Brace yourselves, because these first 5 traits are just the tip of the iceberg. Number 1, Capricorns are obsessed with structure and planning. Capricorns are often seen as the planner of the zodiac. They aren't the types to fly by the seat of their pants. Instead, they love to organize, structure, and plan every detail. Whether it's their career goals, personal life, or even a weekend trip, Capricorns will have a strategy in place. This obsession with structure can come across as a bit weird to others who prefer spontaneity or go-with-the-flow energy. But for Capricorns, it's all about knowing exactly what to expect and avoiding surprises. They believe that having a plan makes life more manageable and less chaotic. Number 2, they have a strange relationship with emotions. Capricorns have this unique and sometimes weird way of handling emotions. While they are deeply feeling people, they are not exactly known for being open about it. They have a tendency to bottle things up and prefer to deal with their feelings in private. They'll often act stoic, seemingly unaffected, but that's just their way of protecting their vulnerabilities. So, if you're expecting a Capricorn to wear their heart on their sleeve, you might be in for a surprise. Their emotional world is private, and they only share it with those they trust the most. This mysterious emotional side can make them appear distant or even cold to others. Number 3, Capricorns don't do small talk. While most people engage in casual conversations or chit-chat to fill the silence, Capricorns aren't interested in that. They don't see the point in discussing trivial things like the weather or what's trending on social media. If a Capricorn is going to engage in a conversation, they want it to be meaningful, deep, or productive. They often skip straight to the big picture, diving into topics that others might deem too serious for casual talk. Their preference for substantial discussions can sometimes make them seem weird in social settings, as they bypass small talk and go straight to the heart of the matter. Number 4, they're always trying to be better. Capricorns are incredibly ambitious, and their drive to improve themselves can border on obsession. They're always looking for ways to be better, whether that's in their career, their fitness, or their personal growth. It's not just about achieving goals, it's about continuous self-improvement. While this quality can be admirable, it can also make Capricorns seem a bit weird to those who are content with their current state or who aren't as hard on themselves. Capricorns constantly push themselves to the next level, sometimes to the point where they forget to just enjoy the journey. Number 5, they have a quiet but fierce loyalty. Capricorns may come off as reserved and sometimes distant, but when it comes to loyalty, they are as fierce as they come. They don't casually throw around words like friend or family. When they commit to someone, they do so wholeheartedly. Their loyalty, however, can seem weird to some because it's not loud or showy. Instead, it's subtle and steadfast. They'll go to great lengths to support those they care about, but they expect the same level of commitment in return. This quiet yet unwavering loyalty is something Capricorns take very seriously, and it can sometimes make them seem intense to people who aren't used to that kind of devotion. Number 6, Capricorns take their time to trust. One of the weirdest and most perplexing things about Capricorns is how long it takes for them to trust someone. They're not ones to hand out trust like candy. If you're someone who is hoping to get close to a Capricorn, don't expect them to open up to you right away. It's not that they don't like you, they just have a very careful and methodical approach to relationships. Trust is something they take incredibly seriously, and they will not offer it freely or quickly. This can be frustrating, especially for people who are more open or who expect quicker emotional connections. This cautiousness might seem strange to others who are more spontaneous with their emotions or relationships. Capricorns are the opposite. They will often observe and assess a person for a long time before they even think about allowing them into their inner circle. It's as though they're testing the waters before jumping in. They have to be absolutely sure that someone is worthy of their trust. If you're not patient with them during this process, it might seem like they're being distant or even cold, but it's simply a part of how they protect themselves. Once a Capricorn decides they can trust you, though, they will be fiercely loyal and supportive. But getting to that point is a serious commitment for them. Number 7, they can be incredibly stubborn. If there's one thing a Capricorn is known for, it's their stubbornness. When they make up their mind about something, you might as well forget about trying to change it. Capricorns are often firm in their beliefs and decisions, which can make them appear rigid or unyielding. While this stubbornness can be an asset when it comes to achieving their goals, they won't quit until they've succeeded. It can also be a little frustrating for those around them. Whether it's sticking to their plans, defending their opinions, or resisting change, Capricorns have a tendency to dig their heels in and refuse to budge. It's not that they're trying to be difficult, but rather that once a Capricorn has decided something, they believe it is the right course of action, and no one can convince them otherwise. This can make them come across as inflexible or unwilling to compromise. While some people might see this as a lack of open-mindedness, for Capricorns, it's a sign of their dedication and persistence. They believe that their path is the best one, and they won't be easily swayed by outside opinions, even if those opinions come from people they care about. Number 8, Capricorns have a dry, sarcastic sense of humor. When it comes to humor, Capricorns are known for having one of the most unique and sometimes weird senses of humor. If you've ever been around a Capricorn during a casual conversation, you've probably noticed that their jokes are often dry, deadpan, and filled with sarcasm. While this can be hilarious to those who understand their humor, it can also be off-putting to those who are expecting a more light-hearted or conventional type of comedy. Capricorns have a knack for making clever, understated remarks that often fly under the radar for those who don't know them well. Their humor isn't for everyone, and they're not interested in catering to the crowd. They will make a joke that's more about wit than about making others laugh loudly. And let's not forget how much Capricorns love sarcasm. They can be masters of it. This dry humor can sometimes come off as cold or even critical, especially if you don't get the joke. But for Capricorns, it's just their way of expressing themselves in a way that feels more natural to them. They're not necessarily trying to hurt anyone's feelings. They just have a sharp, understated way of looking at the world, and their humor reflects that. Number 9, they're incredibly private about their personal lives. Capricorns are fiercely protective of their personal lives, and they tend to keep their emotions, thoughts, and even their personal victories under wraps. If you're trying to get to know a Capricorn on a deeper level, don't expect them to spill the beans about their personal history or their inner thoughts anytime soon. Capricorns value their privacy more than most, and they're not the type to engage in open emotional vulnerability unless they absolutely trust you. It can be quite strange for those around them, especially if you're used to people who are more open or willing to share details about their lives without hesitation. For a Capricorn, their personal life is something sacred. They don't like to broadcast their achievements or their struggles to the world. They will often keep things to themselves, even if they've accomplished something major or faced a tough situation. While other signs might openly celebrate their wins or confide in friends about their challenges, Capricorns prefer to handle things quietly and privately. This can make them seem distant or even secretive, but in reality, they simply believe that their private affairs are theirs to share when and with whom they choose. Number 10. Capricorns are total workaholics. Another reason why Capricorns can seem weird is their tendency to be complete workaholics. If you've ever had the pleasure of working with a Capricorn, you know that their commitment to their work is almost obsessive. They're incredibly dedicated and driven to succeed in everything they do, and this often leads them to put in long hours and sacrifice their personal time in order to achieve their goals. Capricorns are the type to show up early and leave late, always striving for the next accomplishment and the next milestone. This work ethic can sometimes be overwhelming for those around them, especially if you're someone who values work-life balance. Capricorns, however, view their professional success as a key part of their identity. They derive a great deal of satisfaction from their achievements and will work tirelessly to reach the top. For them, the sense of accomplishment and security that comes from their career is worth the long hours and hard work. However, their obsession with work can make them seem distant or out of touch with people who aren't as focused on their careers. They may even neglect relationships or personal time in favor of getting ahead professionally, which can be strange for people who aren't as driven. Number 11. Capricorns don't do well with failure. Failure is something that Capricorns absolutely cannot stand. While many people will brush off a failure and move on, Capricorns will dwell on it. And when I say dwell, I mean they'll analyze every detail, replaying the situation over and over in their heads, trying to figure out what went wrong and how they can fix it. This intense focus on failure often drives them to work harder to avoid it in the future. But this can also make them incredibly self-critical. For Capricorns, failure isn't just a setback. It's a sign that something needs to change or that they didn't do enough. It's not that they're incapable of bouncing back. In fact, Capricorns are known for their resilience, but they struggle with the idea of not being perfect. They take pride in their ability to plan, to work hard, and to avoid mistakes. So when things don't go as planned, it feels like a personal affront. This need for perfection can be a double-edged sword. While it drives them to success, it can also create a lot of inner turmoil when things don't go right. And for those around them, seeing a Capricorn go through this cycle can be a bit weird, especially since their emotional response isn't always outwardly visible. They may appear calm or composed, but deep down, they're working through a sea of frustration and disappointment. Number 12. They are all about their reputation. Capricorns care deeply about how they are perceived by others, which can make them seem somewhat self-conscious at times. But it's not about being vain. It's about wanting to ensure that others see the level of effort, work, and dedication they put into everything they do. To them, reputation is everything. They know that their actions speak louder than words, and they want people to respect them for their reliability, their discipline, and their achievements. For a Capricorn, it's not enough to simply be successful. They want to be recognized for it. But here's where it gets weird. This desire for reputation and recognition isn't about vanity or ego. It's more about proving that they can meet the high standards they set for themselves. Capricorns want to show the world that they are reliable, trustworthy, and capable of taking on responsibility. And if their reputation is ever questioned, they take it very seriously. They'll work hard to rebuild it, even if it means going above and beyond in everything they do. For others, this need to maintain a flawless reputation can sometimes come off as excessive or even a little obsessive. Number 13. Capricorns can be emotionally detached. Capricorns are sometimes seen as emotionally detached or even cold. It's not that they don't feel deeply, it's just that they have a very unique way of processing their emotions. Unlike some signs who are quick to express themselves or to wear their emotions on their sleeves, Capricorns tend to hold their feelings close to their chest. This often makes them seem distant or unapproachable, even when they care deeply about the people around them. What makes this even weirder is how Capricorns express their affection. Instead of showering you with words or overt gestures, a Capricorn will often show their love through actions. They'll make sure you're taken care of, provide you with practical help when you need it, and ensure that they're always there for you when you need support. This tough love approach can sometimes confuse others, especially those who expect a more overt display of affection. But for Capricorns, actions speak louder than words, and they believe that showing you they care is more meaningful than saying it. Number 14, they can be overly serious. If you've ever tried to have a light-hearted conversation with a Capricorn, you know they tend to be the serious type. Don't expect a Capricorn to be the one cracking jokes at a party or jumping into silly antics with friends. Capricorns are focused, determined, and sometimes overly serious about everything they do. This can make them seem a bit out of place in social situations where people are just looking to have fun and let loose. Capricorns, however, are more likely to be focused on their goals, their work, or their next big project. This serious nature might seem odd to those who like to keep things relaxed and carefree, but it's just how Capricorns are wired. They take their responsibilities seriously, and they approach every task with a sense of purpose and gravity. To them, there's no time for wasting. Everything must have a point or a goal. While this seriousness can be admirable in some situations, it can also make Capricorns appear humorless or even rigid. Their tendency to be so focused on their goals can leave little room for enjoying the lighter side of life, and that can sometimes make them seem weird to those who are more spontaneous and carefree. Number 15. Capricorns are extremely independent. Capricorns are fiercely independent, and this can sometimes come off as distant or even strange to others. They don't like to rely on anyone else, especially when it comes to their goals or achievements. They would rather do everything themselves, even if it means working late into the night or handling a mountain of tasks alone. This self-sufficiency can be incredibly admirable, but it can also make Capricorns appear a bit standoffish. They don't want to burden others with their problems or ask for help, because they see themselves as capable of handling things on their own. This independence can make it hard for them to form close connections or relationships, especially if others feel like they're being shut out. Capricorns are the type to quietly carry their burdens, refusing to ask for assistance even when they could benefit from it. They have an inner drive to succeed on their own terms, and they don't feel comfortable leaning on others for support. While this sense of independence is one of their strongest traits, it can also make them seem distant or emotionally unavailable, especially to those who are more accustomed to interdependence or mutual support in relationships. Number 16. Capricorns can be secretive about their achievements. Capricorns are known for being incredibly ambitious and achieving great success in their lives. However, despite their remarkable accomplishments, they often prefer to keep them to themselves. They're not the type to shout their success from the rooftops or share every achievement on social media. This can be a bit weird to others who are used to more open displays of success. But for Capricorns, it's simply part of their nature. They view their achievements as personal milestones that don't need validation from the outside world. Instead of seeking praise or recognition, Capricorns feel fulfilled by the process of working hard and getting results. They are incredibly driven and proud of what they accomplish, but they don't need others to acknowledge it for them to feel satisfied. This secrecy around their successes can make them seem distant or even modest to the point of appearing aloof. But for Capricorns, it's not about bragging or basking in the spotlight. It's about quietly achieving their goals and moving on to the next challenge without fanfare. This trait is particularly evident in their professional lives, where Capricorns might go years working tirelessly, not seeking applause, but letting their results speak for themselves. This can make them seem enigmatic, and it may leave others wondering what they're really capable of. But in truth, Capricorns simply prefer to work in silence and enjoy the fruits of their labor without drawing attention to themselves. Number 17. Capricorns can be workaholics. When it comes to Capricorns, the line between work and life can often blur. Their dedication to their career and success is unmatched, and they tend to throw themselves fully into their work. Capricorns have this innate desire to achieve, which often leads them to spend countless hours focusing on their job or personal projects. While this level of dedication can be admirable, it can also border on obsession. Capricorns rarely know when to stop, and the idea of taking time off or relaxing can be difficult for them to grasp. Their workaholic tendencies can sometimes seem excessive to others, especially when they are constantly juggling multiple tasks at once. While most people will take breaks, Capricorns will work through lunch, stay late, and push themselves harder than anyone else. This can create a weird dynamic, as their personal lives often take a back seat to their careers. For Capricorns, work is not just about financial stability. It's about achieving a sense of accomplishment and proving their worth. What others might see as overwork is, to a Capricorn, a necessary commitment to their future. They find fulfillment in being productive, and they equate success with hard work. However, this laser focus on their professional life can sometimes alienate those who want more balance or who feel like they're competing for a Capricorn's attention. Number 18. Capricorns are often misunderstood as cold or unfeeling. Capricorns tend to be misunderstood, and one of the biggest misconceptions about them is that they're cold or unfeeling. While they may not openly display their emotions like some other signs, this doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. Capricorns experience the full range of emotions, but they prefer to keep those feelings internalized. They are incredibly private when it comes to their personal lives, and because of this, others often mistake their serious, reserved demeanor for emotional distance. This emotional restraint can make Capricorns appear cold or detached, but it's simply their way of managing their emotions. They don't seek sympathy, nor do they want to burden others with their problems. Instead, Capricorns deal with their feelings in private, often choosing to reflect and process them alone. They believe that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness and prefer to maintain an air of control, even if it means holding everything inside. For those who are used to signs that wear their hearts on their sleeves, this can be confusing. Capricorns don't necessarily want to hide their emotions from you. They just don't see the need to broadcast them. They often choose to express their care and affection through actions rather than words. This makes them incredibly loyal and supportive, but it also means that they can seem emotionally distant, when in reality, they simply express their feelings in a more subdued manner. Number 19. Capricorns are very traditional. Capricorns are often very traditional in their values and beliefs. They have a deep respect for established systems, structure, and rules. This can make them seem a little old-fashioned or even stubborn in their views. While others may embrace change and new ways of thinking, Capricorns tend to hold on to traditions that they believe work best. Whether it's in their family life, their work habits, or their relationships, Capricorns find comfort and security in following tried and true methods that have stood the test of time. This adherence to tradition can sometimes make Capricorns appear out of touch with modern trends or current social movements. They might resist the urge to embrace new technologies or the latest fads, choosing instead to stick with what has always worked for them. For Capricorns, tradition isn't just about nostalgia, it's about a sense of stability and security. They believe that by respecting the past and learning from it, they can create a better future for themselves. However, this reliance on tradition can also make Capricorns seem conservative or overly rigid. They may have trouble adapting to rapid changes or accepting new ideas that challenge their established worldview. While they value progress, they do so in a way that feels grounded and calculated, ensuring that any new approach fits with their long-term goals. Number 20. Capricorns have a quiet confidence. Capricorns don't boast about their abilities, yet they exude an unmistakable air of quiet confidence. This quiet confidence can often be mistaken for arrogance, especially by those who expect more outward displays of self-assurance. But for Capricorns, confidence isn't something that needs to be flaunted. They know what they're capable of, and they prefer to let their actions speak louder than words. This subdued confidence makes them incredibly reliable and trustworthy. People know that if a Capricorn says they can do something, it will be done without fanfare or drama. This quiet confidence can make Capricorns seem intimidating to others, especially those who are more outwardly expressive about their achievements. While other signs may need constant validation or praise, Capricorns are content with knowing that they're doing the right thing, even if no one else notices. They're not seeking attention or admiration. They're focused on their goals, and they trust that their hard work will pay off in the end. For others, this level of self-assurance might seem mysterious or even strange, but it's just part of the Capricorn's nature. They don't need others to validate their worth. They already know it, and this quiet confidence is often what makes them so successful. They don't get distracted by unnecessary drama or ego boosts, keeping their eyes firmly on the prize. Number 21, Capricorns hate being told what to do. One of the most bizarre and sometimes frustrating qualities of Capricorns is their resistance to being told what to do. It's not that they're inherently rebellious or dislike authority, but rather that they have a deep-seated need for independence and control over their own decisions. Capricorns are incredibly self-sufficient, and they prefer to navigate their own path, even if that means going against the grain. If you try to micromanage or boss them around, you're likely to hit a wall. Capricorns don't respond well to instructions that they feel are unnecessary or that undermine their own sense of competence. They would rather take their time to figure things out for themselves than follow someone else's directives. While this can be a strength when it comes to their ability to solve problems and think independently, it can also make them seem stubborn or uncooperative at times. This trait can be especially noticeable in work or group settings. While other people might be willing to take orders or go along with a plan without question, Capricorns will dig in their heels if they feel like their autonomy is being compromised. They want to feel that their decisions are their own, and they're not afraid to push back against anyone who tries to dictate how they should proceed. Number 22, Capricorns have a hard time asking for help. If there's one thing that Capricorns are known for, it's their sense of independence. They're incredibly capable individuals, and they pride themselves on being able to handle things on their own. But this fierce independence often leads them to avoid asking for help, even when they desperately need it. To a Capricorn, asking for help can feel like a sign of weakness or incompetence, so they'll do everything in their power to avoid it. This can make Capricorns seem distant or overly self-reliant to others, especially those who are used to being more open or communal in their approach to problem solving. They would rather struggle in silence than burden someone else with their issues. While this level of self-sufficiency can be admirable, it also leads to unnecessary stress and burnout. Capricorns often take on too much responsibility and carry heavy loads alone because they don't want to ask for assistance. They believe that if they want something done right, they have to do it themselves, even if that means working harder than anyone else. And here's the thing, Capricorns don't even realize how much they are isolating themselves by refusing help. In their minds, they're just being efficient and capable. But in reality, their reluctance to ask for support can sometimes make them seem emotionally unavailable or disconnected from others. Number 23, they overthink everything. Capricorns are natural planners, and this tendency to plan extends into nearly every aspect of their lives. They have an innate ability to foresee potential obstacles and calculate the best course of action for any situation. But this comes with a downside. They overthink everything. Capricorns can spend hours or even days weighing the pros and cons of a single decision, unable to rest until they feel completely certain about the path they're about to take. While this cautious approach can be beneficial in many situations, it can also become paralyzing. Capricorns often second-guess themselves, trying to predict every possible outcome and scenario. This overthinking can lead to analysis paralysis, where they get stuck in the planning stage without ever taking action. It can be incredibly frustrating for them and for the people around them, as they go over every minute detail over and over again, searching for the perfect solution that may never exist. This tendency to overthink can also extend into their personal lives. Capricorns can become obsessed with every little aspect of a relationship or friendship, wondering if they've said the right thing or made the right decision. They may even replay conversations in their heads, analyzing what they could have done differently. It's a constant cycle of self-doubt that can sometimes make them seem insecure or overly cautious, despite their outward appearance of confidence. Number 24. Capricorns are slow to trust their feelings. Capricorns are known for their practicality and rational approach to life, but when it comes to their feelings, they can be a little more hesitant. Capricorns have a difficult time trusting their emotions, especially when they're not in control of them. They prefer to rely on logic, reason, and structure. And this can make it challenging for them to navigate the more chaotic and unpredictable aspects of relationships and personal connections. Because they value control so much, Capricorns can be wary of their own emotional reactions. They may second-guess their feelings, wondering if they're truly valid or if they're just a temporary impulse. This makes them slow to act on their emotions, often waiting until they can fully understand and rationalize their feelings before making any decisions. While this cautiousness can prevent impulsive decisions, it can also make Capricorns seem emotionally distant or unsure of themselves. In relationships, this can create tension, as Capricorns may struggle to open up to their partner or express their true emotions. They'll often keep their feelings bottled up until they feel absolutely certain that they can trust someone with them. This slow-moving emotional process can be frustrating for those who want more immediacy or vulnerability, but for Capricorns, it's simply a way of protecting themselves until they know it's safe to let their guard down. Number 25. Capricorns can be overly critical of themselves. Capricorns are perfectionists by nature, and this drive for perfection often leads them to be incredibly critical of themselves. They have high standards, not only for others, but also for themselves, and they hold themselves accountable for every success and every failure. When they fall short of their own expectations, Capricorns can be incredibly hard on themselves, berating themselves for their mistakes and shortcomings. This self-critical nature can be draining for Capricorns, as they constantly push themselves to do better and achieve more. They rarely give themselves credit for their accomplishments, always focusing on what they didn't do rather than what they did. Capricorns' tendency to focus on their flaws rather than their strengths can sometimes lead to feelings of inadequacy or burnout. This drive for perfection can also make Capricorns seem overly critical of others. They expect the same level of excellence from the people around them, and when others don't meet their high standards, they can become disappointed or frustrated. But in reality, their harshness is often a reflection of their own inner struggles and not a judgment of others. Number 26. Capricorns have a hard time relaxing. One of the strangest things about Capricorns is their inability to fully relax. You would think that after working hard, they'd want to kick back and unwind like everyone else. But no, for Capricorns, relaxation feels like a waste of time, or worse, a distraction from their goals. They have this constant drive to be productive, and sitting still or doing something just for enjoyment feels almost unnatural to them. It's not that Capricorns don't appreciate a good break, but their version of relaxing usually involves working on something new or taking on another project. They may go on a vacation, but even then, you'll find them checking emails or making plans for their next big move. This constant hustle can make them seem a little obsessive or overly intense. The idea of just resting without purpose doesn't resonate with them, and they often feel guilty if they are not constantly moving forward in some way. This can lead to burnout, as Capricorns push themselves too hard without giving themselves time to recharge. In fact, many Capricorns find it difficult to shut off at the end of the day. Their minds are always racing with ideas, projects, and future plans. They have a relentless drive to succeed, and this drive doesn't leave room for idle moments. While others may embrace a lazy weekend, a Capricorn will likely feel antsy or uncomfortable without something to do. It's a cycle they're caught in, always working, always striving, and rarely pausing to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Number 27. They can be overly ambitious. Ambition is one of Capricorn's defining traits, but it can also be one of the most weird aspects of their personality. Capricorns are constantly reaching for the next rung on the ladder. They're always thinking about their next goal, their next promotion, or their next big win. While this level of ambition is admirable, it can sometimes come off as excessive or even overwhelming. They don't rest on their laurels. Instead, they're always pushing forward, often without giving themselves a break or celebrating their achievements. This ceaseless drive can cause Capricorns to be so focused on their next big move that they forget to appreciate where they are in the moment. For many Capricorns, success is a moving target. Once they achieve something, they immediately shift their focus to what's next. This can make them seem unfulfilled or discontent, even when they've accomplished a lot. It's a kind of perfectionism mixed with ambition that makes it hard for Capricorns to ever be fully satisfied with where they are. Their constant striving can also make them appear distant or detached from the people around them. As they chase their goals, they may inadvertently neglect relationships, friendships, or even their own well-being. It's not that they don't care, it's just that their ambition takes precedence, and they're willing to sacrifice almost anything to reach the top. This level of ambition can be seen as weird, especially to those who don't share the same relentless pursuit of success. Number 28. Capricorns struggle to ask for emotional support. Despite their hard exteriors, Capricorns are deeply emotional individuals, but they rarely let anyone see it. They have a very tough time asking for emotional support, even when they're struggling. Capricorns don't want to burden others with their problems or come across as weak. They believe they should be able to handle everything on their own, and asking for help or support can feel like a failure to them. This makes them extremely self-reliant, but it also isolates them. While they're fiercely loyal to their friends and family, they're often unwilling to lean on others when they need it most. Instead of reaching out for comfort, Capricorns will often retreat inward, processing their emotions alone. This can be frustrating for those who care about them, especially since they may seem emotionally unavailable or distant when they need help the most. Capricorns' reluctance to seek emotional support is partly because they value strength and resilience above all else. They view emotional vulnerability as a sign of weakness and are determined to keep their composure, even in the most challenging of times. This can make them appear cold or unfeeling, but in reality, they're simply trying to protect themselves from feeling out of control. Their struggle to ask for emotional support can make them seem weird in how they manage their emotions, as they tend to internalize everything rather than share it with others. Number 29. Capricorns can be very critical of others. Capricorns' perfectionism doesn't stop with themselves. It extends to the people around them as well. They tend to have high expectations for everyone, whether it's at work, in their relationships, or in their personal life. While this can be motivating for some, it can also come off as overly critical to others. Capricorns may not always voice their criticism openly, but they often silently judge others for not meeting their high standards. This can make Capricorns seem intimidating or even dismissive, especially to people who don't understand their drive for excellence. Capricorns believe that if they can push themselves to achieve such high standards, others should be able to do the same. They don't tolerate laziness or mediocrity and will often expect those around them to keep up. This can be frustrating for people who feel like they're doing their best, only to feel as though it's never quite enough for a Capricorn. But what makes this critical nature weird is the fact that Capricorns often hold themselves to the same high standards. They're not just pointing out flaws in others, they're just as hard on themselves. For Capricorns, criticism isn't meant to be malicious, it's just a reflection of their desire for growth and improvement. They see potential in others, and they want to push people to be the best version of themselves. But their approach can be harsh and overwhelming at times. Number 30, Capricorns can be stubbornly set in their ways. Capricorns are known for being incredibly stubborn, especially when it comes to their beliefs, routines, or habits. Once they've decided on a course of action or made up their mind about something, it can be nearly impossible to change their perspective. This can make them seem rigid or inflexible, especially in situations that require adaptability or compromise. Capricorn's stubbornness often manifests in their refusal to take shortcuts or change their plans once they're set. They believe that hard work and determination are the keys to success. So if something isn't working out, they'll keep pushing through, regardless of the obstacles. This unwavering commitment can be a strength, but it can also make Capricorns seem overly resistant to change, even when change might be necessary. Their reluctance to change their ways can make them seem out of touch with others who are more open to new ideas or approaches. Capricorns don't like to deviate from what they know works, and they'll often stick with what's tried and true. even if it means missing out on potential opportunities. This stubbornness, while admirable in its determination, can make Capricorns seem weird in how they approach life, unwilling to take risks or venture beyond their comfort zone. Well, there you have it, 30 reasons why Capricorns are undeniably weird in the best way possible. We've taken a deep dive into the complexities of this sign, and if there's one thing that's crystal clear, it's this: Capricorns are full of contradictions, quirks, and intricacies that make them stand out from the rest of the zodiac. They're not your typical outgoing or easygoing sign, far from it. Instead, they're determined, driven, ambitious, and yes, sometimes a bit mysterious and hard to figure out. But that's what makes them so fascinating. We've learned that Capricorns are incredibly hard on themselves. They're perfectionists to the core, always striving for the next achievement, often overlooking their successes along the way. This constant need to push forward can sometimes make them seem distant or emotionally detached. But don't be fooled. Beneath their serious, no-nonsense exterior, Capricorns are deeply emotional, loyal, and protective of the people they care about. We also saw that Capricorns are masters of self-sufficiency. They hate asking for help, which can sometimes leave them isolated, as they're so focused on achieving their goals that they forget to lean on others. They'd rather work through their problems on their own than burden anyone else, even if that means carrying a heavy load alone. They may seem cold or distant at times, but it's just a part of how they navigate the world. They want to be seen as strong and capable, never weak. But here's the thing, their weirdness is also what makes them amazing. Their ambition and determination are unparalleled. Capricorns are driven by success and work harder than anyone else to achieve their goals. Their stubbornness, although sometimes frustrating, is also what keeps them moving forward when others might give up. They may not always show it, but they deeply care about their loved ones, and they'll go to great lengths to make sure the people they care about are taken care of, even if they express it in more subtle, practical ways. And let's not forget their ability to keep going when the going gets tough. Capricorns are incredibly resilient. They'll bounce back from failures faster than most, not because they don't care, but because they know that setbacks are just opportunities for growth. They're willing to put in the hard work, to keep grinding and to stay focused, even when things aren't going their way. It's this resilience that makes them one of the most reliable signs in the zodiac. So, while they may seem a little weird with their need for control, their tendency to overthink, or their reluctance to show vulnerability, all of these traits are a part of what makes Capricorn so unique and honestly, kind of amazing. They're not afraid to work hard, set high standards, and do what it takes to achieve their dreams. And when they do open up, when they finally let down their guard, they're some of the most loyal, caring, and thoughtful people you could ever meet. Now that we've uncovered the mysteries of Capricorn, we want to hear from you. Do you recognize yourself or someone you know in these descriptions? Are you a Capricorn who sees yourself in these traits? Or maybe you have a Capricorn friend who fits the bill. Or perhaps you're not a Capricorn, but now you're starting to understand this sign a little better. We'd love to know your thoughts, so make sure to comment below and share your experience. We're all about having conversations and learning more about each sign in a fun and engaging way. Your comment could help someone else understand their Capricorn friends, or even give insight into how to deal with these unique individuals. And hey, if you enjoyed learning about Capricorn's quirks, don't forget to subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on our deep dives into all the signs, their traits, and everything you need to know about astrology. Make sure to like the video too if you found it fun or informative. It helps us out more than you know. But that's not all. We have a ton of other videos about each zodiac sign, and we'd love for you to explore them. Whether it's about how different signs handle relationships, or their career strengths and weaknesses, we've got something for everyone. Plus, we're always adding more content, so there's always something new to learn. So, if you're a fellow zodiac lover, make sure you're part of the Secret of the Zodiac family. Hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop when we release fresh, new content. And don't forget to check out our other videos on the channel. Trust us, you won't want to miss out. Now it's your turn. Tell us, do you agree with our list? What's the most weird thing you've noticed about Capricorns? Or are there other traits you think we missed? Drop a comment and let's get talking. We'll be right there, reading all your thoughts and engaging in some great conversations with you. Thank you for sticking with us through this deep dive into the intriguing world of Capricorns. We can't wait to hear your thoughts and see you in the next video. Until then, remember, being weird is just another way of being wonderfully unique, and Capricorns do it best.